Hey, Paul with Bikeskinz here. One of the questions I commonly get is if we do custom designs. And yes, of course we do custom designs. Around 50% of our orders are actually custom because people want to change things in the design. If they're looking at one of our preset designs, they want to change colors or add or remove things. And then also a lot of people want to do custom designs from scratch. And they have questions about that process and how we collect payment for that and just kind of how the process goes, and I kind of wanted to cover that for you in a quick video. So if we take a look at the website here, we mentioned one of the first things that people might do is they want to do a color change. So even this bike that's on the homepage here, it's basically a vapor lock design. You can see it's got the skull removed. And of course, we can change colors of designs, of our preset designs, and there's no upcharge for that. You can see the vapor lock in red, and there's one in green, but people ask for it to be in yellow. And you can mix and match as well. We've had some people take the background of the Galaxy design right here, which has stars and things like that in it, and then changes it. And then also a lot of our designs have either flames or digital camo. And of course, that's a very common background. So then you could take your own logos or any type of characters and put over that. Most of the time, those right there, they don't really get into an expensive custom design fee. It kind of depends on how complex the changes are. So if you want to add like a character that has to be cut out in Photoshop or something like that. So another instance of let's get into other custom designs. So another one is where people send us like a camo pattern and they say, can you generate a wrap with this camo pattern? And yes, we can easily do that if it's high resolution. And sometimes people send us a camo pattern that's not high resolution, and we can recreate it and it not be that expensive of an upcharge. Now where it does start getting into a little bit of an upcharge is when people want to do say sports themes or character themes. And that's kind of when you can start getting into using different elements in design, like different characters, different images, things like that. And once you start doing that, there's more cutting out and there's more reviewing of images. So let's talk a little bit about reviewing of images. So one of the more popular things people want to do is they want to take a theme. So let's say we're doing like a wolves theme. I've had a few people ask about, doing animal characters, and they're not trademarked, so we can talk about them a little bit. So here's some pictures of some wolves. There's a few different things I look for when I'm looking at an image, and there may be a point where I'm helping you quote what the custom design fee would be. So the way we quote these is if you're doing a total custom design from scratch, and we're going to add our own elements and our own backgrounds and everything like that, the way I find works best is we quote a total custom price. So let's say, for example, that may be $600. So we'll figure out what images need to go in it, the exact images. Like we'll look at it on Google, we'll compare. I'll take images that you're sending me through email or something like that, and we'll make comments on them back and forth, and we'll kind of pick out the main elements of those images to decide which ones are high resolution, which ones would kind of work well in the design, depending on how the angle or position of the elements are, and then also how easy they are to cut out if there's a lot of stuff in the foreground. So if you have a wolf with leaves and stuff or a tree in front of them, that wouldn't be a good one. Or if you have a dragon with like a bunch of flames in front of them, that may not be as good. But in some cases, we can work with that. The main thing is the high resolution. That gets a lot of people. So they don't really know kind of what to look for as far as high resolution and cropping. So once we kind of figure out what images we want to use, then we'll quote a total price. So for example, $600. And then we'll take a 50% deposit. And so we'll generate a composite for you and start emailing you previews. And we can tweak and make changes to the previews based on your input until you're happy with the design. So we'll be showing renderings of the left and right side. until you're happy with the design. And then, of course, you would just pay the balance and we would print and ship you the wrap. So one of the things that I do kind of want to get into a little bit more here is like looking at images. So for example, let's say the customer wanted to do like a wolf theme. I may say, hey, show me some high resolution images of the wolves that you like, the poses and things like that. So the first thing that you'd want to do is maybe go to Google and then click on images. And, then you're searching wolves. But then what I like to do is click on tools. And then, of course, click on size and go to large. So that's going to put out images that are just a little bit larger in resolution. So if we hover over these, this one right here is 1200 by 800. And in most cases, around 800 pixels vertical resolution is going to be enough. So let's pick out some images that could be easy to use for a design. So let's say you like the emotion of this wolf that's howling. The bad thing about it is it's only his head. It's not really his whole body. So when you're working with these elements or images that you want to put into a wrap design, it kind of works out better to have more of the wolf in it. So here's one where it's his whole body, but his feet are kind of cut off. You may be able to work with that. This one, for example, would be a good one because, it shows his whole body. The problem with it, though, he's kind of standing like a dog with his tongue out. Let's say you want like a classic wolf pose. This one may be good. He's howling. Still kind of has his feet cut off and it's very dark. So in a case like this, that wolf being so dark for it to stand out, then, you'd have to have like a lighter, non-busy background to kind of work. So things like that can kind of dictate your design again. So for howling wolves, there's the head again. I don't really see any other wolf shots that kind of have a wolf howling. But that's the kind of things we'll go back and forth on via email, and we'll kind of figure out what would work good for the design. So it may take some time to kind of look through all the images and really figure out what we could use. Here's one of a wolf. Those back legs are kind of cut out. We could probably still use that one, and that one's 1920 by 1280 resolution, so it'd probably cut out and be pretty clear. And we, of course, do have software and plugins for Photoshop that can increase the resolution and not get too pixelated or grainy, so you don't have to worry about that too much. And then, of course, the third type of issue you get into with custom designs is where we have to actually draw characters or certain images for a design. So an example of this would be in our Bikeskinz. Let me go to the Bikeskinz Facebook page. Let's go to Facebook. So an example of this would be, I think let me see if I can figure out. We've done some designs in the past where we have customers that want maybe a certain image of them redrawn where they're like a comic book character. So that's kind of an example of one. Let me see if I can find another one here. There was a lady who wanted me to like redraw her. So here's an example of one too. So this one is kind of like a motorcycle club, and their image, the original image was kind of airbrushed and it just didn't look that tight, so we redrew this total image, like everything, colored it and everything. So once you're creating the artwork from scratch, like you're not using an image that's just from Google, that adds a little bit more time. And that, like I said, those are kind of all custom quoted, so just kind of keep things in mind like that. But really, we can kind of do almost anything. I was trying to find like another example of where there's some illustration. So here's that original logo. The older one, or the original one, was on the right and was airbrushed, and then we redid it on the left. That's kind of a common thing that we do as well. Here's another one I want to point out. So this is the current bombshell design. And so this is like one of our presets. But several years ago, maybe like 6 years ago, we had a custom customer that wanted us to create like a custom cadet girl, like to be featured in the design. So of course we had to draw her from scratch, and we kept adjusting the girl's figure and how her uniform fit and things like that. And this can kind of take a little bit more time, but that kind of gives you a little bit of a peek into how the custom process is done. So a lot of it's gone over verbally, picking out images, quoting it, getting a deposit, and then of course, creating design with previews. This is another one that was really cool. This one was done for a chopper. Now, it was rendered on a image we just grabbed online, but mainly just to get this tank shape. But you can see all the wistful smoke and stuff that's coming off of the skeleton. So we used a third-party app to recreate that custom smoke. Most of the time, anything we do that's artistic, it's going to really come out good. So we've been doing this a long time, for like 10 years. Pretty much anything that you want to do, we can put together and make look really good. So yeah, if you have any ideas for custom designs, just let us know.